Tina from ONESTOP, and welcome to our first episode of harm reduction history. And we have a very special guest tonight, Gary Langis, a harm reduction pioneer from Massachusetts. Thank you so much for joining us, Gary. So I have a couple questions for you. I want to start with, what do you love about harm reduction?
What do I love about harm reduction? I love the love in harm reduction.
Beautiful.
Honestly, because that's what it's all about. It's about love. It's about care and loving for the folks that many people don't care or love.
Absolutely. It feels like a big weird family sometimes, right?
Yeah, and it's and that's the way I was taught. Really, that's the way I was taught. I was brought up in harm reduction to look at it as spreading love and loving people.
Beautiful, thank you. And I know you've been doing this work for a long, long time. If you can speak a little bit about how you've seen harm reduction as a movement grow and stay true to the social justice roots and the heart of its history as well.
Yeah. Well, at the beginning of when I used to start doing syringe exchange, it was I didn't think it was a big deal, and there weren't too many people around. I was just giving syringes to my friends that were shooting dope, and I did that because somebody gave me syringes that I met at the hospital one day because they realized that I was injecting drugs, and they explained that this would help protect me from catching AIDS, and HIV, and all those things, and that was in the mid '80s, I believe. So there really wasn't much going on. For a couple of years, but then groups like ACT UP, got involved, and other activists got involved, and it became a little more not popular to do it, because it wasn't really popular to do it. It was a lot of folks considered it just the wrong thing to do, and but we had to try to stay involved, keep on doing it, and caring for the folks, and I think it's just turned into a movement, once it turned into that movement of, people spread out around the country doing this, we started hearing about each other. Mm-hmm. And then we started to reach out to each other, and it just grew and grew and grew. I think there's still a lot of people doing a lot of great work in harm reduction. It's been hijacked a little bit on the way.
Mm-hmm.
It's been watered down to fit different types of different models of programs. And harm reduction, get right back to the beginning. It's love. It's meeting people where they're at. It's not it's not me coming in with an agenda, telling people what they need to do, and unfortunately I see a lot of the more traditional treatment type programs that offer harm reduction now. A lot of those folks are doing a disservice to it by not sticking to the core of harm reduction. Again,
Yeah.
we love the folks we work with,
Yeah.
and we have no problem telling them we love them, giving
So
them
true.
a hug, letting them know, and I still think there's that separation with some of the more traditional treatment folks to keep themselves separated from participants.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where participants I'm no different. Like we're all in this together.
Absolutely, and we get to do this work because of the participants, right?
Exactly. It's all about them, you know. Like harm reduction isn't like something that I'm bringing anybody. It's harm reduction. You bring your own to it. Like, you know, if you're using drugs, it's my job. It all depends on like what, you know, where you're fitting harm reduction in. And if when you're talking about drug use, it's uh, for myself. It's just creating that safe place where somebody can talk about their drug use comfortably, and that's what I think about harm reductions. You know, it's just like we need to create more space where people are comfortable, like drop-in centers. Like this isn't how we started out. Harm reduction, believe me. You know, it was out of the trunks of our cars. Uh, it was doing a lot of traveling around. But as it's progressed, like getting back, that's one of the good things that it's happened. It's given it's given folks a safe place to come, a place to get out of the rain, a place to come in and have a hot cup of coffee, a place to come in and ask questions, a place to come in and answer questions. It's a place to come and just feel comfortable, you know. And when that started happening, just it felt like folks had a little more dignity. You know, they you know, like this is the folks we work with, they deserve just as much as anyone else. They deserve, you know, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness like everybody else. And it's nice to see that we, you know, like we have places that where people can come now. I mean, it's COVID time, so you know, like this is another big wrench that was thrown into the mix of drug use, and you know, it's changed a lot of things where we can't entertain like 20 or 30 folks in the same space at one time, you know. But we still do the best we can, you know. I mean, I watch as, you know, the harm reduction folks today go out and literally getting back out into the street again because that's where it's at. And again, if we meet people where they're at, that's where we have to go, you know. Yeah, these are hard times, but
Yes, they are.
I'm sure we're gonna bounce back, and you know, we'll have people sitting in here enjoying them, you know, like enjoying just being themselves, you know. Yeah, I'm pretty optimistic about, like, you know, the change is going to come, you know. Like, I really have a lot of faith the change will come in the next couple of years after we get through COVID, so.
Yeah, absolutely. We have to hang on to that hope, right?
Yeah, hope. That's it, you know. It's hang on to it because it's sometimes that's all we do have, you know, is that hope, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I just want to ask you, I know that you are an OG within the harm reduction movement here, but if you don't mind sharing, like, who were your mentors in the harm reduction movement?
Oh, God. I had some good mentors growing up. You know, locally, I think back to George Kenny, Belinda Dunn. They're both passed on, and they're gone now. But locally, those are some of the folks that we were able to engage with and talk, you know, and meet with and learn from. You know, I think, you know, at first around Syringe Exchange, when there was just a few of us doing it in Boston, you know, like we did have some attitudes toward each other. You know, it wasn't all like, you know, lovey-dovey, and it was for different reasons. And I couldn't get with some of the folks that were doing some of the work, and but it's no big deal. There's enough people in the world that I don't have to encounter them every day. There's a lot of people using drugs. We have customers among on customers. You know, like there's just too many people to serve anyway. So, I guess it was good to have a few different folks that do an exchange at the time. I think there was like at least 4 of us doing exchange around Massachusetts back in the late 80s and early 90s. And then I look around, as harm reduction grew and, we started, the Harm Reduction Coalition started to have some conferences and, the conferences were really important for me at first. Like when I first went to, I think it was the second Harm Reduction Conference and just started meeting folks. I was blown away by the people I met, because it was the Edith Springers. And those were like like Edith, like really brought the harm reduction back here from the United Kingdom years ago. She went over there and she got all the information she could around harm reduction, and she came back over here and she was on fire, and that's where I first met her. I think, it was the first time I met her. It was that second harm reduction conference, and we just hit it off, and we've remained friends for 30 years or so, I think now. And she's not as well as she used to be. She's pretty sick right now, but she's in good spirits. I stay in touch with her, and like a lot of us do. We stay in touch. Like the older folks that have been around. So I stay in touch with Edith, and I'm grateful that she's still alive. And at the same time, I had met, Alan Clare and Dave Purchase and Dan Big, and I just met a lot of really cool folks, and we just started to network, and it was building friendships. They're my friends, they're my dear friends, and they taught me a lot. Like Dan Big was, he was the guy, for the Narcan. He was the guy, and he used to be famous for carrying around a duffel bag full of Narcan to conferences and just telling people, take the Narcan, bring it back to your town, and do what you can do with it. And and I did that, and but I can remember going through it really fast, and then calling him up and talking to him, and we had an organization at the time, and the folks involved in the organization was Holly Bradford, Deb Azrael, Harry Leno, myself, and Dan Sundquist, and I'd say they're all my mentors. They're all like, we just share things together, and I learn a lot from them. Dave Purchase was like just a wonderful human being that he was like, he used to drive us. He used to drive us to demand more and ask for more and not settle for less. And it was really difficult losing him, but he's left a legacy behind that I'll never forget him. And just like the other people, like George Kenny and Belinda and Dave Purchase, Dan Big, unfortunately, he's not with us any longer. It gets pretty lonely and sad, like thinking about the folks that we've lost. But I have, like, getting back to the hope. I look around, seeing the work that's being done just around here. Just around our state, and I see I see folks that are new to harm reduction, people that are young in harm reduction, people that are a little older in harm reduction, and it gives me hope because I know, like everybody's doing what they got to do, and it's encouraging. It's like, just have syringe exchange up here. This is one of the places where we worked out of the trunk of my car, it's really grown. It's really grown to become accepted, I wish our voices were a little more appreciated than they are. But that's something we have to work on. We just can't give up. We don't give up our principles and our ethics and all of that stuff. We don't give it up to anybody. We just do what we have to do. Yeah, ask for forgiveness later. That's it, just do it.
Yeah, I love that personally. And as someone who is newer to the harm reduction work, thank you so much for all that you've done and for laying the foundation for folks like me to keep the legacy alive. And I have enjoyed so much just hearing your background on this. I have one more question for you, sir. Why does harm reduction work for you as well as for the people you love?
It's like asking, why does common sense work?
Yeah.
It's the right thing to do for the right reason. It's got all the things that the folks that are using need. It's got I learn something different every day from by talking to folks who are using drugs and that's what harm reduction is, learning from them. We talked about mentors before, but my real mentors were all drug users. That's really who they were. That's how I learned, what the folks that we serve, what they need, and I do go back in the drug using world many, many, many decades, 50 years at least, and I can remember the folks that I learned from down in New York City and how they taught me these little things, how to stay safe. And, harm reduction is even using that cotton, those little cotton pellets we use that we put in cookers now. You know what? At one time, nobody used those, they started using those to filter out some of the bacteria and some of the particles that stay, so you don't introduce them into your system. That was harm reduction, and that happened way before, we first handed out our first syringe. That was in the 50s and 60s, and so I've always learned from some really valuable mentors that, they were old drug users down in New York City that taught me a lot of the stuff that I still practice today. And common sense. Yeah. And it's it's not rigid. It's not like you don't always have to stay in the line. You can go outside the line a little sometime if you have to. There's no no great mystery around it. There's if somebody needs something, if it's a need to stay safe, to stay alive, to progress in any way, hey, let's find out what it is and let's get it to you.
Yeah, absolutely. It certainly is common sense.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Thank you so much for coming in for an interview for our first ever episode of Harm Reduction History here at ONESTOP.
Been a privilege.
Thank you so much. And yes, we will be seeing you all next time for episode number 2.
That looks like episode next.